Hi, I'm Mark Fletcher, Avaya's Product Line Manager for Public Safety Solutions, and today we'll be talking about Enterprise E911, the role of emergency services in the PBX, brought to you by e.Comm Technologies. On today's webinar, we'll be teaching you the things that you'll need to understand about E911 so that you can make the proper decisions for your business. We'll look at today's aging E911 network and how it works. We'll continue to explore new networking capabilities that are emerging today called Next Generation 911. We'll talk about the law and E911 compliance, how to manage it, and how it affects your business. Managing 911 liability is about managing the location of your users. Today we'll show you how that can be done with an efficient and affordable way using emergency response locations or ERLs. Many of the 911 features that you need are already part of the core Avaya infrastructure. We'll take you through what they are, how to deploy them, and also cover enhanced adjuncts by our DevConnect partners. The E911 network today was developed back in 1969 in an effort to provide a single number for emergency services in the United States. It's an analog technology that's based on fixed endpoints in a hardwired network. In this environment, telephone numbers equal locations. The network is relatively simple, static, and user location is easily determined based on provisioning records that exist at the service provider level. Unfortunately, today's caller is one that commonly uses IP technology and is based on mobility. Also, the last thing that a telephone number correlates to is a location. Enterprise networks are becoming more complex, and user location becomes extremely nomadic and unpredictable. This causes a unique problem for the enterprise PBX administrator with E911. Further complicating this environment are work-at-home users and telecommuters. In addition to being dynamic in their location, quite often technology is limited in its ability to determine off-premise, out-of-network location. Today, 911 is based on a simple principle. When a user dials 911, the call server has the ability of sending a specific caller ID, and not necessarily the user's DID number, to the local exchange carrier network. The LEC detects that a 911 call was dialed and then performs screening on the caller ID to determine if it's appropriate to be used as automatic number identification, or ANI. It is at this point in the network where the carrier may drop the caller ID and insert billing ANI in some cases. Careful planning needs to be taken and testing performed to ensure that the correct ANI is being passed to public safety. The next hop in the network is the E911 selective router, or 911 tandem switch. Here, the Master Street Address Guide, or MSAG database, is queried using the ANI that was received with the call. From this query, the proper PSAP termination and call routing is determined. The 911 selective router then sends the call over specific 911 trunks to the appropriate PSAP, where they receive both the voice of the caller as well as the ANI information. It's at this point where the ANI is then used by the PSAP to query the carrier automatic location information databases, and that information is then presented on the call taker's screen. So as you can see, not only does caller ID control the proper routing of an E911 call, it also has a direct correlation on what information the 911 dispatcher sees on their answering position terminal. Send the wrong caller ID and you might end up at the wrong PSAP. Or if you end up at the right PSAP, bad caller ID will produce a bad location record to the dispatcher. Unfortunately, this is what an emergency responder sees when using that basic street address information to respond to the 911 call. The main question to ask yourself is, where is the 911 caller? Let's stop and talk for a minute about Next Generation 911. What you as an end user need to understand about Next Generation 911 is that it's a model built with standards-based interfaces using SIP to provide multimodal session-based communications, as well as location information. This information and additional data is transmitted using the PIDF-LO location object standard. Now, what does that mean in English? It means that there's an enormous change in how I get my information to the people that can help me. No longer is it about a telephone number referencing some database that may or may not indicate where I am. It's about using the data embedded in the enterprise network, compiling the relevant bits of that information, and sending it to public safety. In short, it says, "I need help, this is where I am, please come get me." When we look at the enterprise data network and how we're going to feed our information into the next generation 911 network, which is known as the Emergency Services IP Network, or SENet, the NENA i3 Next Gen 911 standard allows for the conveyance of additional information, but pushing all of that data that we may have is just not efficient for the network. To assist in getting data where it needs to go, when it needs to get there, enterprises should consider all of the advanced capabilities of their E911 solution. Deploying an enterprise location management, or ELM server, within the DMZ of the enterprise is one method. The ELM can act as a destination point for queries placed by emergency services agencies, based on a URL that they're sent with the next generation 911 call. Does NG911 exist today? No, but we're on the verge of this new technology being deployed in many areas across the US. And any 911 solution you purchase today should have a definitive roadmap for next generation 911 connectivity and conveyance of information. We've mentioned NENA a few times now, but who is NENA? NENA performs the following critical functions in the 911 industry. They provide standards definition, model legislation and regulatory positions, provide public education and certifications, manage government affairs relating to the 911 industry, and enterprises should be aware of what NENA does and watch for programs and technical tracks defined by this National Emergency Number Association. From a regulatory perspective, NENA provides guidance to states who are implementing MLTS or PBX-specific legislation. Currently, 17 states in the U.S. have some form of legislation regarding PBXs, and others have legislation pending. Michigan became the 17th state who just passed their MLTS legislation prior to Christmas of 2011, which goes into effect January 1st, 2017. Avaya has and will continue to provide expert industry guidance on technology that is available for multi-line telephone systems, and guide states in their effort to establish effective and manageable legislation. Avaya takes great pride in participating nationally on several fronts. The Federal Communications Commission Emergency Access Advisory Committee is defining next-generation 911 functionality and standards, enabling the disabled user community to contact public safety using multimedia mechanisms that put them on par with everyday citizens when calling 911. Our CEO, Kevin Kennedy, serves on the President's National Security Telecommunications Advisory Council and provides strategic direction and guidance when it comes to providing a resilient communications infrastructure for the nation's public safety community. Extending the concept of a national next-generation 911 network, Avaya is also proud to be a participant in the National Communications System defining the nation's next-generation public safety broadband network. Now, all of this is great information, but enterprises need to prepare to be part of this new environment. As we've seen, the size of your building and the granularity of your 911 reporting can significantly confuse or obscure emergency first responders. When we look at remediating 911 within the enterprise, one of the first things that needs to occur is breaking down the building into manageable sections. The current NENA MLTS model legislation states that fire alarm zones are excellent starting points for E911 granularity. But stop and ask yourself, why not provide granularity down to the cube level? Although that seems like it makes sense, in actuality, you may confuse emergency first responders even further. Let's say I have a large corporate campus with multiple buildings and multiple floors within those buildings. Obviously, a single street address certainly doesn't provide enough location granularity to allow public safety to locate me within that building. But even if public safety had my specific cube number, 3E231 for example, would that really provide them with any additional information that would let them find me more easily? In reality, no. When the fire truck or ambulance pulls out of the garage, what's important to them at that point in time is a street address that they're going to and maybe a floor. The cubicle number is really insignificant to them at that point in time. Yet the common approaches have been to bend over backwards to provide that level of detail and information to public safety, and at a great expense in many cases. By providing basic zone-level information, public safety first responders can start doing what they need to do first, and that's respond. Fortunately, the PBX understands the exact location of the caller, and at the time of the 911 call, that information that is relevant can be sent to your internal first responders, who can provide immediate assistance. And when public safety first responders arrive on scene, everyone is well aware of the situation, and you're prepared to bring public safety to where they need to respond. Core system features that are included with the Avaya products include location-based routing. Calls are routed based on the location provided by a location information server or subnet. Support for TDM and IP endpoints. Common features for both types of endpoints allow feature parity across device types. Built-in support for the Avaya Wireless LAN 8100. The 8100 monitors wireless LAN handset access point associations and then communicates that information to the call server, where its 911 properties are adjusted as the device roams the campus. This provides location resolution down to the specific access point association. This built-in functionality to the 8100 adds Avaya on Avaya value. Zone or station level reporting. Reporting granularity is down to the ELE and can be specific as a station location or as broad as the building, or any level in between, providing the greatest deployment flexibility while minimizing individual station records in the public database that incur monthly recurring fees. Crisis alert and on-site notification. This provides basic name and extension number notification to designated telephones when an emergency call occurs. Dynamic callback to the station placing the emergency call. DID and non-DID phones that transmit the ELE number as their caller ID on 911 calls can be called back by the PSAP as the ELE is dynamically call forwarded to the originating phone. This aids the PSAP emergency call taker to call back a caller in the event that a call becomes disconnected. Support for multiple bridge line appearances. Unique ELE numbers can be transmitted at the device level so that common number appearances can uniquely be identified to the PSAP. Based on what we've learned, an effective E911 plan in the enterprise requires three basic things. First and foremost, we need to define manageable zones within our building and provide location-based discovery and routing. When a user moves within the system, the internal databases are updated, and the information that is presented to public safety is adjusted. Here's the important part. We're not making updates in the public safety database. That takes time and typically incurs an expense. What we're doing is we're adjusting the information that we send to be relevant to the user's location. Along with that, on-site notification is a critical piece that allows internal staff to understand an emergent situation is taking place. Based on information already stored within the network, internal first responders know exactly where the problem is. Coordination with public safety first responders becomes simple at that point. Finally, with networks being flattened, consolidated, and extended, we find remote connectivity of our users from their homes, from branch offices, or any place that broadband connectivity exists. Solving the E911 location problem for this group of people is very specific and quite often deployed alongside internal mechanisms. Regardless of whether you have a single or multi-site environment, when you deal with IP telephony, you deal with the technology that can make 911 location reporting difficult. Now let me be clear. It's not that voice over IP is not compatible with E911. It's the fact that voice over IP allows a user to relocate themselves on the network with no administrative interaction. That is what we call nomadic behavior. Whether I bring my device from building to building or floor to floor, keeping my DID number and current location synchronized in the public safety database is problematic as well as expensive. One thing that many people don't realize is that even if location information were submitted to public safety immediately upon the MAC work being completed, it may take 24 to 48 hours or longer for that data to be promulgated and made live in the database. If a user should happen to move again within that time, the clock starts over. And as you can imagine with a wireless device, where you are and where the public safety database thinks you are could be very different. This is why Avaya has developed specific functionality in our wireless LAN 8100 products. Using the built-in location-based routing found in the Avaya CM and the CS1000, The Sentry E911 location management software, provided free of charge with the wireless LAN 8100, each access point becomes its own emergency response location in the network. As wireless devices roam and associate with new access points, the Sentry software from Conveyant provides real-time updates to the PBX and adjusts the 911 properties that are sent to public safety. Further enhancements to the Conveyant Sentry 911 solution are available as modules through the Avaya DevConnect program. Although Basic Crisis Alert is included in the core feature set, only the username and extension number is provided on the telephone display. A more efficient, verbose on-site notification solution is the Sentry Beacon Alert from Conveyant. In addition to providing a real-time screen pop to any number of workstations in the enterprise, all additional location detail is presented to local on-site first responders so that a response plan can be quickly established and put into action. Sentry Alert clients can be anywhere on the network that has connectivity with the Sentry server, including remote branch offices or VPN users. Functionality included are highly visible and audible alerts, parallel email and SMS notifications, automatic printing, and integration with other applications. Remote users can be specifically problematic for E911 compliance. Because the physical 911 network is very geographic in nature, connectivity to remote PSAPs is often not feasible or even possible. In these situations, the only way that a caller can be connected with the 911 PSAP in their area is using a hosted E911 solution or VPC, Voice over IP Positioning Center. The functionality that a VPC provides is to play the role of an E911 carrier that provides connectivity across the entire U.S. Because many times these users are located outside of the enterprise network, network location discovery becomes difficult or impossible with today's technology. To combat this functionality limitation of today's networks, VPCs, like 911 ETC, offer a software application in the form of a dashboard that allows a user or system administrator to manage locations. Using technology that's inherent in the 911 network itself, the VPC service can provide near real-time updates to the public safety agencies. In addition to providing the VPC services, our partner 911 ETC can provide database normalization, system programming, and integration, as well as a full suite of remediation services. As Product Line Manager for Public Safety Solutions at Avaya, I consider E911 one of the most important parts of our enterprise strategy. Because of that, we've invited just a few of our E911 partners into the DevConnect Select Product Program from our ecosystem of DevConnect technology partners. Through the new Select Product Program, Avaya customers and business partners can order strategically selected, compliance-tested, third-party products and services with Avaya using their standard ordering processes. This special program is reserved for E911 technology partners that deliver unique functionality and extend the value of Avaya's products. And it's with great pleasure that I introduce 911 ETC Incorporated and Conveyant Systems Incorporated as the first members in the Avaya Select Product Partners Program for E911. Avaya takes public safety seriously, and employees maintain active memberships with several international industry forums. Subject matter experts maintain the NINA Emergency Number Professional Certification and contribute on several key standards and committees, including the President's NSTAC, the FCC, the National Emergency Number Association, and the European Emergency Number Association. Public and customer education is a key tenet behind Avaya and their public safety presence. Weekly, we publish industry-leading podcasts and blogs that demonstrate our mindshare and technical acumen. Be sure to visit us on the web, follow us on Facebook, and monitor our Twitter feeds for all the updated information on E911. An E911 risk assessment cannot be done over the phone or by answering some generic questions on a web page. These tactics are simple lead generation schemes and do not take into consideration specific building and legislative concerns. A real risk assessment is a face-to-face meeting with an E911 professional that can translate technology into solutions for your needs. e.Comm Technologies is offering a free E911 risk assessment audit and includes a meeting on your site to evaluate your current environment, identify potential E911 risks, and suggest potential improvements. Contact e.Comm Technologies on the web at e.commtechnologies.com or via phone at 1-866-AVAYA-YES. This has been Enterprise E911, the role of emergency services in the PBX, brought to you by e.Comm Technologies. I'm Mark Fletcher, Product Manager for Avaya Public Safety Solutions. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.